Now, ooh, kicking that. That's not good. I'm gonna let folks kind of funnel in, figure it out for themselves real quick while I go and take care of other shit. Um, there we go. All right. It'll all work out in the end. So now, right. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. I don't know. Apparently not. Doesn't work like that. Okay, whatever. Um, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Yo Guardsman Om, and I am fucking trying stupidly difficult hard things here. This is the first time I've ever done this kind of a stream, so bear with me. It's kind of fun. Not really. That's what I'm going to do it. That's how I'm going to do it. Okay. So, again. Here. And here. That'll do it. Post that. Now I got to run back to the other side. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and filter on in and let me know how you feel. I'm going to go ahead and set this up so I got some sort of a tripod-ish thing going on. All right. So, little bit of background for you. Y'all might know that just recently yours truly was given a fucking a strike, as it were, for having my black powder pistol in the holster on my hip and walking past the video. Now, what you may not realize is that it was during a live stream where somebody actually asked me, what kind of air gun do you recommend for someone? And I tried to show that air gun, but before I could show that air gun, the pistol in my holster got me a strike. Not handling it, not utilizing it, not showing any kind of violence, not showing any kind of crimes. Yet, it just being in frame in the video got me a strike. So I postulated to you. There is the comment pinned at the top of the chat for you. If y'all want to go ahead and take a look at that, you'd understand what I'm saying here. That this is a poll, mind you, on whether or not YouTube should be a public forum, a public square, as they've been professing to be, and as they've set in motion in a legal stance in particular. And anybody who has, is out there watching the VSO Gun channel out there, y'all know what I'm talking about because he just posted this. But this is one of those things that I had to comment on. I actually had to say something because it affects me directly and personally. So I had to question, should YouTube be a public forum or should they be a private publisher? Now, there's two sides to this coin. One, they're not liable as a private publisher for, doing this sort of shit, restricting speech, not allowing you to fire on, do certain types of content. You can't, have movies on YouTube. By the way, movies would not be allowed, especially any violent or, action type movies. They would not be allowed on YouTube. A lot of other things would not be allowed on YouTube if it was a publishing entity. Okay, and the reason being is that they are instructional videos. Like, for instance, how to build circuitry. For instance, how to manufacture certain chemicals. These would not be allowed on YouTube because they are patented. And as a public forum, they're allowed to show these things because it is educational. However, once they are a private publisher, they can no longer show those things because they are a private publisher and therefore would be violating patent law. So it's a kind of a back and forth situation. They're like, oh, well, we don't like having this other content out there because this other content kind of scares away the ad revenue. But when they go and they play this game of if we're not going to do that, then they get away from what actually makes YouTube interesting. And that is that we're all a community here trying to teach each other things that we might know, but they might know, or they might not know for that matter. So when we're trying to teach each other things, it's kind of hard to do that on a private entity. On a public forum that is completely legal, it's all there for education purposes, and that is protected under education and copyright law, specifically under Section 107. All right, so it's up to you. It's up to y'all. You guys are the ones who dictate how this goes. Either you make a fuss about it, or you say nothing. Now, I took a step back as kind of like, this is me protesting, motherfuckers, because there's only one way that I can do that. There's, two ways that I could do that. And the one way that I could do that isn't working. The one way that I can do that, step back, I'm not putting any content out, because if I put any content out, then that would be supporting your platform. Now, I took it because of that step back. It was like one of those, I'm watching all this shit devolve. And finally, I could no longer step back and say, no, I'm not gonna, because not participating is akin to allowing it to happen. And so this is why I'm saying this is your public square, folks. YouTube's placed themselves on that particular. If they're not going to hold to that, then they need to be held to that standard. You have two options, private or public. Public, all of this other stuff is allowed because it's all an educational purpose and all under the understanding that we are trying to become a more knowledgeable group of individuals. Pardon my stammer and stutter and garble. However, on the flip side of it, if they're a private entity, then they are specifically there for advertisement purpose only. and they have to pay for their time to advertise certain patented items. If these patents are immediately existing, per se, they have to pay for their time to advertise those items. Versus public entity, they don't have to pay for their time to advertise those items. Public entity, they don't have to sit there and be like, all right, well, you know, because that's not the mainstay of the content. The mainstay of the content is the educational videos. The mainstay of the content is the entertaining videos. The mainstay of the content is the public speaking videos. Whereas it's not the ads. The ads are the revenue, the byproduct of those videos. Again, it's one of those, you got to make it up your minds for yourselves if you're going to stick around to this shit. It's on you. Now, I've already declaratively made my channel 100% adult channel. I have made my channel so that it is literally just trying to educate other adults, because other adults may not know these things exist. I've seen it in my own everyday life, day to day, just walking through life, just whatever, you know, people I talk to, people I meet. They don't know how chemistry works. They don't know how physics works. It happens because they weren't paying attention in school, or, you know, they were too busy, you know, looking at the chick that was sitting a couple of seats over instead of looking at their book that was in front of them. I mean, it happens. It's understandable. It doesn't mean that anything changes over the fact that they don't know now what they need to know in order to do certain things. Like, you know, for instance, be able to take a stump out of their backyard, or, you know, get rid of moles in you know, tearing up their garden, or, you know, a plethora of other things that I don't cover. There's hundreds, millions of videos out there educating you on how to handle certain situations. A lot of these videos violate YouTube's user policies. Let that blow your fucking minds. They do. They violate YouTube's user policies. Handling of a firearm. Handling of it. Not sitting there and going, you know, oh, it's in my holster, or, oh, I've got the actual firearm part of the apparatus out of it, so it's no longer a firearm, it's just a frame. Things like this, technicalities, minor freaking technicalities, are the difference between you getting a strike and not getting a strike. It's like, holy shit, why? And yes, if you don't know already, go and sub Joe Morgan. Friend of mine. Good dude. Anyways, I digress. So, one in the chat, if you think that they should remain a public forum. Because that's what we originally got involved with YouTube for. That's why everybody's here. It's because it's a good public forum, a good place to come to be able to actually speak, rather than just type it in or make a post that might get taken down later by some, you know, angry CEO who reads a little too hard. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, this is why I'm saying, should they remain the public forum that they need to be, that we came here for them to be, or should they become a private entity to the point where they are not legally allowed to post any of this other stuff because it violates a patent or something or other? And in which case, we all need to leave and find somewhere else, because we no longer have a public forum here. So it's really y'all's decision, and that's why I'm doing this particular video, this particular live stream, is specifically because we have to we have to recognize the cards that are on the table. You know, the chips are in the pool, the cards are down. Everybody's at their final point. Okay? And it just so happens y'all are holding all the aces. YouTube's sitting here with a freaking bunk hand, and they're just sweating their balls off, still bluffing like crazy, like I'm not going to show my cards. So really, it's on all y'all, and it's on me too. You know, it's a matter of this is the way I think about it. If you're going to be a public forum, be a public forum. If you're going to be a private entity, I'm not going to have anything to do with you because that's not why we're here. I could be a private entity in my every day-to-day space and just walking and talking. If I want to be in a public space, that's why I come to YouTube, or I go, grocery store, go to the freaking shooting range, go to the, down to the parades in town and stuff like that, to be part of the public forum, the public space, the public square, as it were. I don't get on YouTube for all this other fun stuff. Oh, I need to advertise something. I don't need to advertise shit. My blades speak for themselves. My work ethic speaks for itself. I don't need to do any of that shit. I could literally walk down the street with a dozen knives strapped to my back and a sign on my fucking front here that says knives for sale, blacksmith, bladesmith, this, that, and the other, and has my resume on the motherfucker, and literally sell like crazy. I don't need to advertise here. That's my point. I use this as a public space, a public square. So, you know what my opinion is that it should stay a public square. But I want to know what y'all think, because in all reality, that's how YouTube works. They don't listen to one fucking dude. They listen to hundreds of people, thousands of people at once sitting there saying, no, motherfucker, you need to listen. That's what they listen to. So, have an opinion while you still can. That's the way I'm putting it. Have an opinion while you still can. That's my stance on it. That's where I think about it, because otherwise, again, the designs that I came up with for how to make it a physics-based space engine, basically, that doesn't rely on rocketry, but actually relies on, the standard friction and physics that way. Kinetic energy and whatnot, under Impetuous, they would not be able to post that video here on YouTube. They would have to take it down. And honestly, I want people to know that shit exists, that you could make a something like that and be able to use it in space travel and stuff like that, because it's a completely contained system, so you're not expelling anything into the atmosphere, you're not going up or down in weight, you're not going up or down in impetus, which means that relate impetuous stays the same, rather than being like, well, if the Saturn V rocket had kept its entire impetuous all the way to the moon, it would have overshot the moon rather than slingshotting the moon. Things like that. It's physics. Anyways, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Like the little quirky things the brilliant shit you come up with, that wouldn't fucking exist on YouTube. It literally wouldn't. They would have to delete all of that. And yeah, you would only be able to run advertisements. Only advertisements. As in, I wouldn't be able to say, hey, Pete, how you doing? And yeah, I love the fact that, you'd be willing to help me with design. I love that. That's awesome. I would not be able to say that. I would have to say only so much as go and check out, here, Pete Rock Designs, go and check them out. I would not be able to say I would love to get with you and do that. I can't even say that. I'd just only be able to say, go and check this person out. That's it. That's my point. That's why this becomes a problem. You can't have a personal opinion on a private forum. Because your personal opinion is a form of public speech. This is why I keep on coming back to, it's your decision. You really freaking make the decision here. There needs to be more people making public speech on YouTube. Now, I'm not just saying this to my subscribers. That's why it's a situation of I'm not sitting there going down the list right now, guys. It's not so much as I'm not seeing you comment. It's as I'm actually sitting here trying to point out that this video is not specifically about you guys. This video is specifically about YouTube and their funky ass policies that is literally destroying the platform that we utilize. It comes down to a question of what should it be? Because the reality is the majority voice in this particular spectrum, in this particular forum, is what makes the difference. It's unfortunate because it doesn't protect the rights of the individuals or, whatever, but it's the reality of it. Because that's how YouTube wants to act. Oh, we're a private entity now, but we're a public entity now, but we're a private entity now. So you need to put your fucking foot down and say one or the other. That's the reality of this. Either we lose it or we preserve it. It is the same in that regard as to what Benjamin Franklin said about the United States, and it is a republic if you can keep it. It's in that same regards. You have to work to keep it. So, if we make no effort, we have only ourselves to blame. However, if we make an effort and still falls through, then we have the ability to walk away, dust our shoulders, and say, motherfucker, not my problem. I didn't do that. You did. And that's why, I'm doing this video as a situation of, please come and see what has become of YouTube. This is what we have to continue to do. Every time YouTube goes and says, no, we have to turn around and say, really? You sure? You really want to go that route? Here's why you don't. This is why we got to do this. It's because they don't listen to anything else. And this is why I have not been able to run a freedom forum for, what, a month now? I've not been able to have a freedom forum out there for a month because we cannot be certain of what's going to get the next strike. And the reality of it is, one more strike for me, well, shit, I don't even know at this point. It's like, it's been so many strikes for me that I don't even know if that rule applies. But we come back to, another strike for me could be the end, or it might not be the end, or, it all depends. From what I can tell, they're all pretty fucked anyways. I do here. What I miss, what I miss. Okay, that's something else. I thought that I was getting a text message. I'm not. So, anyways, yeah, I can't show you guys anything on this on the YouTubes right now because it's so up in the air. It's just so crazy. The most I can do is like in the community section, I can post pictures of my wares and my arts and crafts and stuff like that. That's about all I can do. And when I says wares and arts and crafts, I mean like the blades I make, the swords, the knives, the axes, stuff like that, and uh, little quirky projects I do that are only for myself. I won't do those projects for other people just because basis of issue of legalities, but not so much of a legalities of you know I can't do the job for you legally speaking. It's so much as in order for it to be 100% legal, you would have to do it yourself. I can show you how to do it, but I can't do it manually for you on those ones, legally speaking. Like, for instance, making caps for black powder. I can tell you how to make it. I can show you how to make it. I can't make it for you. If you make it on your own, that's on you. Anything that happens is you. It has nothing to do with me, thereby severing any legal tie. And that's what the nicety of a public forum is it's an educational space. That education allows you to be able to do for you and safely if that's what you want. That's why I have this kind of an issue of you have to be able to allow public speech. We're teaching each other things. That's what public speech is for. It's for education of the masses. And if we're going to throw away certain aspects because, well, it's just not agreeable to our whimsy, that doesn't work. Yeah, no, I didn't tell you to build it. I said you could. There's a difference. See the difference there? You should build this. You have to build this. You could build this. 3 different ways of doing it. 2 of them are okay. 1 of them is not. And this comes back to, I frequent a lot of channels and whatnot, videos that, in all reality, you can get in a lot of fucking trouble for doing some of the shit that they do if you don't do it right. So, yeah, it's a matter of you need to do it right. It's good to have the educational space there. That's the reason why we do this. It's why we have the educational space. And some people don't want to have the extra education because they know it already, and that's great. That's fine. That's why there's also the entertainment aspect of it. Okay, and that's what makes it a public forum because there's education and entertainment, which allows for things like public speech and voicing of public opinion. Now, again, it comes back to, are we still going to allow this to happen? Are we going to allow this to be something that just we go and let have, it's like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not standing there with it. There's absolutely something you can do about it. You vote on the YouTubes or in any particular space that you're in on social media with this and that. You don't realize it, but you do. You vote. Even if you don't vote in the elections or this, that, or the other, you vote with this and this. So you're telling YouTube what you do or don't want, what they should or shouldn't allow. You tell them that. Just like you tell Facebook what they should or should not allow. Now, Facebook is a tyrannical, entirely different fucking situation because, Zuckerberg, but, that's on him. That's not on you. The same holds with YouTube. They're going to throw you under the bus after you voted. That's on them, not on you, because they chose to be a public forum. So it's all a matter of how you act about it. This is what it means to be a mature adult. You handle your shit, but you don't handle it with violence. You don't need to. It's a matter of, violence is the last step. Violence is the last recourse. And before you move to the cartridge box, you use the ballot box, you use the soap box, you use the newspaper. You use these before you move to the violent side of things because you have no other choice, you have no other recourse because you've already exhausted all of this. That's how that's supposed to work. So, again, you lend your vote. You lend what you wish to happen by what you do. This is why, even though, say for instance, Mad Chat over there with the Lackluster Fridays, okay? He's always telling you thumbs down, hit the thumbs down button. Well, it's not really conducive to the algorithm, but I understand why he's doing it. It's a matter of, it's a kind of a FU to the system because the system is screwy. But at the end of the day, if you were to instead not vote, because his declarative want is the downvote, if you were to not vote, that's the same as giving him a thumbs up. At the end of the day, when you look at the way that the algorithm's written, that's the same as giving him a thumbs up because he vocally said in the video to give a thumbs down. That's how this fucking thing works. It is a monster. And you can figure this out. If you're running like Google Chrome or something like that, you can look up there in the corner. I'm not sure if it's this side or if it's this side. I'm not sure because sometimes it mirrors. Okay. But up in the corner, you'll have your options, your toolbar, and all that fun stuff. You can look at those options, and it will actually give you the option to look at the software writing, the software code specific to the site that you're on. That's one of the reasons why I actually like Google Chrome. It's because you can look at this sort of stuff. And I looked at it and I was like, wow, okay, those are actions. Those are hard rules. This is operating code. Because you get your different colors, you get your different aspect ratios and stuff like that. You're different going through it. But, all of this stuff is there. You can look it up for yourself. You can see what it is. It's all there. And these the ability to finagle the YouTube algorithm, as it were, really comes down to how is this algorithm written? If you can get the algorithm, the way that the algorithm is written, basically translated into actions of how you're supposed to do things and this, that, and the other. You can push that algorithm to do whatever you want it to. Have you noticed how I have like a very small scope of people that I talk to? Go figure. I know how the algorithm works. The people that I want to reach, the people that I want to talk to, the people that I understand are genuine individuals, those are the people that I reach because of how I use the algorithm. It all comes down to how you use it. So again, we're working on a situation of should YouTube be public or should it be private? Because the algorithm is written to be for a private company, but YouTube acts as a public square. That's nice, Joe. So anyways, like I was saying, you make your decisions. You not throwing a vote in the chat basically means that, you want it to go however YouTube dictates that it wants to go. When you don't participate in a poll like that, that's how they get you, man. They took my ability for polls to put up a regular poll up there away. Did you know that? I can't post polls except in a comment, whichever side I get confused between StreamYard and YouTube and reverse imaging and stuff like that. It messes with my head. But yeah, the only way that I can do a poll now is through a comment or through a specific verbal. And so for me to get you to be able to throw your opinion out there for me so that I may understand and so that also YouTube may understand, I have to do it in a comment poll or in a verbally related poll through the video rather than doing it in a standardized poll, which we normally see in different live streams. I just went through all of this and tried to figure it out and could not find the poll. Went through comments, banners, brands, all that fun stuff. Went through the creators, this, that, and the other. Went through the guests and the stuff, all the stuff that we've got here as streamers on StreamYard. Went through all of those useful things, and nowhere do I have the poll option. So that's why I was sitting there making a comment up top and pinning that one, because it's a situation of, if you look, it'll ask you, should YouTube be a public square, one in a chat, or a private entity of two in a chat? And of course, YouTube's going to try and block all this sort of stuff just because that's how YouTube is. They don't want you to have an opinion because they want to be a private entity. But at the end of the day, you can't play both sides of the fence. That's just how this is rigged. Yeah, they can't have it both ways. Legally speaking, you're not allowed to have it both ways. Either you are a private entity or a public business. That's how this works. Now, normally, we'd all just kind of agree on things. But with the recent political upheaval and all of this stuff, and the inability for like the FCC to have teeth in that response, and for the Constitution to have teeth. StreamYard used to do it. I actually had it on my StreamYard. I could run polls. I can't anymore. Oh, and replay and all the rest too. Yeah, all that fun shit. Can't do it anymore on StreamYard because the Twitch streamers started fucking with people. This is what happens when you act like a shithead. When you act like a fucking immature 2-year-old, you destroy that which you would actually utilize as, your place to have a public say in things, a way to reach out to others. And when you do that, honestly, you only have yourself to blame. We have you to blame. And therein lies the difference. This is why I don't fucking particularly like trolls. When I say I'm the king of trolls because I want to go after these assholes. But there's a difference, Joe. There's a fucking difference. Well, it used to be. Then StreamYard started to crack down on it because they were. Well, it has more to do with the fact that we were getting trolled so many different ways, and so in such a way that it was harmful. See, it wouldn't have been a big deal if it wasn't, if it was just like, good jokes, ha, 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 funny, whatever. But instead it was FCC violations, which is harmful to the manner of public speech. Yeah, you're right, Seymour. It does. It takes the two platforms. Now, here's the thing. If it wasn't for StreamYard and studios like it, Twitch and what's the other one? Streamlabs, Restream, Dankstream, Disco, stuff like that. If it wasn't for these platforms, a lot of people who wanted to do streaming on YouTube wouldn't have been able to in the first place. And I kind of understand why, YouTube keeps on saying that, oh, no, we're a private entity, because they think that somehow because they're a company, they get to do that. But here's the rub. When you are not a private publisher, but actually a public forum, that comes with the comment section. Okay, if there's a comment section anywhere having to deal with videos, that's a public forum. This was all designed and all created way back when we first started YouTube out, doing all here's your surveys, here's, the public polls for how YouTube should be run, this, that, and the other, way back in the day. Okay, this is before, even the Garsmanom channel. This is back when I was still the Bulletproof Roofer. We were doing these surveys on how to build YouTube in order to make it the gigantic monstrosity that it is. And one of the many questions was, should YouTube have a comment section to give feedback? Now, it stepped on some sticky ground there, because the FCC denotes anything with a area for rebuttal comments and opinions to be placed in response to any particular subject makes that a public forum. So, yeah, it's basically a toy. YouTube is basically a toy. Anyways, it's a toy that wants to have its own autonomy, but the problem comes when it was not built to be autonomous. It was not built to have its own autonomy. It was built to be utilized by others, by individuals. That's the way it was built. It was built to be a public forum, not to be a private entity. It was actually first built to be a dating service, and when that fell through and they allowed it to have such things as comments and whatnot on, under the videos, it failed to be a dating entity and became a public forum. And in doing so much, it allowed so many of these other videos to be posted. And you'll notice that right around that same time, it went from being, what was it, like, a few videos around like, hey, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I do, sort of thing, to being videos of Two Girls in One Cup and Electro Boom. And the only reason why I say those two in this same sentence is because one is one side of the spectrum and one is the completely fucking other side of the spectrum. But you get what I'm saying here, It's a matter of there's just so much to the spectrum that you cannot encompass it all. And there's so much, it literally it has to be this entity of public space, public square. So, and let me be clear, things like what, Joe's saying here in the chat right now would not be possible if it was not for the fact that YouTube acts as a public forum. So, again, this is why when you see me, making a stink or, going and pissing and moaning and complaining about shit, I'm not pissing and moaning and complaining for no fucking reason. I'm not sitting there like those, the blue-haired Demorats that are at the freaking college kids' campuses and whatever, sitting there screaming and hollering, I feel bad. I'm not one of them motherfuckers. The difference is I'm pointing out things that are actually important, that really do have foundation. This is the public square. This is literally, between here, church, and court. Those are the places where you see other public, other public situations. Literally, that's what it's become. No longer is it, the kid on the corner with the newspaper on top of the soapbox with the bell going, extra, extra, read all about it. It's YouTube. And it's, like for me, it's the Guardsman on. Hey, motherfuckers, how you doing? This, that, and the other. That's how this works. So to sit there and say, well, sorry, but you can't put that up there because we saw this in your video, or you can't do this or that because we saw that in your video, even though it's not a crime, even though there's no crime being committed, there's no harm being done to anyone else, there's no foul in this instance, we're not going to let you put that up there because we want to act like a private publisher today. That shit that doesn't cut the mustard. And it doesn't stand to muster. That is how this works. So either you do or you don't. It is cut and dry in this situation. There is either 1 foot on the freaking platform and 1 foot on the train, or it is both feet on the fucking train. We're not staying on the platform here. Either your ass is on the fucking on the rails, or you're getting on the train and you're going. Now, me personally, I'd rather have my ass sitting on the rails just because it just so happens that I'm smarter about it, and I would rather be, 1 foot on the platform and 1 foot on the train, because this makes it so that I have the option. And I'm still in a public space. I don't like the idea of, oh, well, all this is private, so you can't say that, you can't say this, you can't say that. I'm sorry, but that shit's out. And if that's going to be the case, you're never going to see me again. You're never going to see me again. It's going to be one of those, I'm done. Because I refuse to work with a company that has a double standard. Across the fucking board. This is one of the reasons why I am able to go and literally walk down the street with a fucking sign on my chest and a bunch of fucking knives on my back and say, hey, yeah, I'm selling knives. Do you want a knife? Specifically because I do not work with a company that works on a double standard. That's one of the few things I am fucking adamant about. Especially if there's rules for thee but not for me, you can go and have all this war videography and freaking as 2A Jekyll goes and puts it out there, smart individuals who are going and shooting up fucking residential areas, you can have those as literal fucking child-friendly videos. But me sitting here and talking about, maybe you should be allowed to defend yourself even if you can't necessarily get your hands on a firearm, because it could be your political stance, not necessarily because you're prohibited from having a firearm or from defending yourself. Let's be clear. You could be well past all that stage and whatever and still not be allowed to have a firearm, but you could still be allowed to defend yourself. Welcome to America. Oh, and did you know that here's one of those wild ass fucking facts for you. Did you know that the founding fathers of the United States of America were violent felons? I've been fucking sitting there pounding this into people's heads, but you need to understand, treason is a violent felony. Treason carried the death penalty. And not just any kind of death penalty at their time. Let's be clear. These men would have been hung by the neck until almost dead, drawn and quartered, and then beheaded publicly. That's how violent of a felony treason was back in those days. These men committed treason in order to speak out against a king. They thought that everyone should have firearms. And they're the reason why anyone has firearms. So, yeah, let's fucking stop this horse shit of, oh, well, you're non-violent felon, so you could have your firearms, but you were a violent felon, but we're going to let you out and let you run around and do whatever, but we're not going to legally allow you to have your firearms. So in other words, You think this person is so dangerous that they're not allowed to legally defend themselves. That you're not going to let them have a firearm, but you're going to let this dangerous individual run around rampant with, not a care in the fucking world out here in the real world. Okay. So, that's fucking retarded. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah. For those individuals who are not prohibited possessors, but still have the appearance of it per se, like you want to carry an air gun or a black powder gun because you just do not fucking want to deal with the fucking ATF. Let me be clear. This is my stance on it. This is why I don't do the whole thing. I can actually go and purchase a modern firearm. Legally speaking, this is the truth of it. This is why I tell people, no, I'm not a prohibited possessor. I'm not. I went and worked all of that shit out in a courtroom. Dealt with all of that shit. Reduced a felony to a misdemeanor. Reduced that misdemeanor to a non-compliancy. Then to reduce that misdemeanor further and expunged that from my record. Then turned around and did all of the paperwork to be able to show compos mentis, to be able to purchase a firearm. So I am legally allowed to go and purchase a modern firearm at any freaking point in time in my life that I so choose. However, I am so fucking royally sick and goddamn tired of the fucking ATF. I refuse to. That is why I have air guns. That is why I have my own fucking swords that I make myself. That is why I have a black powder gun. Because I refuse to deal with the ATF on any level. Where I come from the background that I come from, the ATF is literally an act of constitutional treason by existing. So, all this other spiel of, well, prohibited, non-prohibited, that's wayside. Yes, I went through the fucking legal spiel to go and deal with that. Fine, whatever. At the end of the day, I still have my very strong feelings on this and very well-founded argument on this. So, no, I'm never going to buy a fucking modern firearm. As long as the ATF exists, it will never happen. Because I refuse to, not because I'm not allowed to. And that bothers the shit out of people. They look at me like, oh, what are you carrying around a freaking black powder gun for? Well, for two reasons. One, I can carry it constitutionally in the state of Oregon. Because you're allowed to have a 6-shot pistol in the state of Oregon, open carry for self-defense. It's in the law. Also, it's a black powder gun, so it doesn't even qualify as a firearm. They've softened those laws so far, whatever. But still, on that same level, it's a matter of I refuse to deal with a corporate entity telling me that I may or may not exercise those rights that were given to me by my creation itself, by being created as an American citizen and as an upright human being. The very fact that I have to ask somebody for permission to follow that is a violation. Outright. I don't need to ask you your permission. Let's be clear. A criminal isn't going to ask you for permission. The difference is I'm not asking for permission, but I'm not breaking the law either. There is a workaround. That's the problem that these people have with me. That's why they don't like having my videos up there. That's why they see my pistol in my holster on my hip, they go, Ree! It's because they don't like the fact that I can be, and they don't like the fact that it is the case. They're going to sit there and they're going to fucking browbeat me into a fucking corner, and they're not going to like what I have to say because the fact of the matter is what I have to say is reality. I'm not talking about, well, I'm sorry about your feelings. I'm not going to do that. I don't give a shit about your feelings. Your feelings can fuck off. This is what the law says. And that's the case across the board. That's with any of it. This is why YouTube is the problem. Specifically the corporate entity, not the people here. If you look out throughout YouTube, you'll find that that's the case. It's the corporate entity, not the people here. I mean, the other day I was sitting there and I was in a decompression chamber at Metals, and we were talking about, I was talking about, I thought it was funny that I got a freaking strike for a black powder pistol on my hip in a video. Like, that's what got me my strike, So I'm sitting there, I'm giggling about it in the chats, and somebody came off the hook, I think it was Lost. He came out the freaking woodwork like, are you saying it's me? I'm like, no, dude, do you not understand? I think it's fucking hilarious that I got a strike for a black powder pistol on my hip. It's not in my hands. I think it's funny. YouTube thinks it's funny. That's the fucking craziest thing. They think it's fucking hilarious. They went and they actually took the disciplinary action off of it. Let that blow your mind. They took the disciplinary action down and left me the video, but just simply made a fucking stink about it and told me that I couldn't upload for about 2 weeks. I went beyond that before uploading again because I'd had enough of their shit. But let's be clear. This is a situation where I don't even know who fucking flagged the video. I don't care. I really don't. It's not important to me. I was just sitting there chunnering on. It was a freedom forum where we're having some fun, dude. It's not my fault that people can't understand what fun means. The difference is I thought it was funny because I got a strike for something that is completely within the boundaries of what they say is okay. I thought it was fucking hilarious. That's why I was sitting there, giggling my ass off, in the chat, is because I thought, hey, that's fucking funny. I got a strike for something that doesn't even make sense. And I thought that this other individual might actually get a kick out of it because, they don't necessarily like me all that much. And that's fine. It's one of those, dude, that's always been Bridgewater to me anyways. They just brush it off. They don't like me, fine. I don't like me. And? What's your point? Don't fucking like me then. But it just comes back to, I thought it was funny. So for people who are sitting there telling me, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't, look, tell me I can't and then get the fuck out of my way and watch me do it. That's what we call, a redneck challenge. You can't do this, son. Motherfucker, watch me. Any Hoosiers. It's been bland. It's been fun. So, this is just one of those make you think sort of things and understand why I'm such a fucking angry American. And this has been Ye Old Guardsmen on motherfuckers. I'm out. I haven't had enough of it. You have a good day.